it's hard to really describe the comfort that can be found in just pouring your heart out to God, and especially then also feeling confident that your prayer will be answered. But whenever you see it happen, it is a powerful thing. Like, I've seen and heard of plenty of people that have basically gone from rock bottom to like mountaintop high just from something like that. What's up, cool people? My name is Matt. Welcome back to our Bible study. Okay, so we are looking at 1 Samuel, starting with chapter 1, because why wouldn't I? Reading through the entire Bible anyway. So I guess we're kind of past the time of the judges now, but it hasn't really established, maybe it will, how far afterwards we are, but yeah, I guess there was a little while even at the end of the book of Judges where it didn't actually mention there being a judge over Israel, and people were just kind of doing whatever they wanted, like, as much as, if not even more so, than in the times between the judges. So, yeah, don't expect things to look super duper, don't expect it to look like the people of Israel are following God super well here. But in any case, yeah, not sure how much else to say, really. We did find out near the end of Judges that the tribe of Dan did finally actually get settled in. They hadn't really settled in to a specific part of the land up until that point. But there's definitely still other people groups and kingdoms around them that could potentially cause them trouble, it seems. But anyway, enough context building. I think it's about time we maybe just hop on into the chapter here. So, 1 Samuel chapter 1, here we go. There was a man named Elkanah who lived in Ramah in the region of Zuph, in the hill country of Ephraim. He was the son of Jeroham, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Zuph, of Ephraim. Elkanah had two wives, Hannah and Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah did not. What was... I'm like, Hannah was also one of... No, never mind. I was getting mixed up with Rachel and Leah, Jacob's wives. I'm like, hold up. It sounds like a real familiar name for a guy that had multiple wives, but no, I my brain mixed things up for a bit there. Okay, so still doesn't necessarily give us a real close time frame there. Where's the footnote says Zoph is in the Greek version. Hebrew reads in Ramathaim Zophim, which I'm kind of assuming that's another one of those same place, different name sort of deals. Although the Hebrew might have a significant, or it might have a certain meaning to the name that wouldn't get communicated here. But it's not like I would know that anyway, honestly. If anybody who wants to look that up can feel free to, and let me know if there's a certain significance to that name, but otherwise, I'm just gonna say that, it's not that important. So, dude named Elkanah, who lived in Ramah, had two wives. One had children, one did not. Okay. On to verse 3. Each year, Elkanah would travel to Shiloh to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of Heaven's armies at the tabernacle. The priests of the Lord at that time were the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas. On the days Elkanah presented his sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to Peninnah and each of her children. And though he loved Hannah, he would give her only one choice portion, because the Lord had given her no children. So Peninnah would taunt Hannah and make fun of her because the Lord had kept her from having children. Year after year it was the same. Peninnah would taunt Hannah as they went to the tabernacle. Each time Hannah would be reduced to tears and would not even eat. "Why are you crying, Hannah?" Elkanah would ask. "Why aren't you eating? Why be downhearted just because you have no children? You have me. Isn't that better than having 10 sons?" That sounds like a classic guy move to try and say something like that. But, not always particularly comforting. I mean, because, let's face it, the logic doesn't exactly follow either, because Peninnah also has him, but she's got children. So, and it's made all the more apparent when they go to, to give these sacrifices every year, because she just gets the one portion of the meat for herself. Meanwhile, Peninnah gets, hers and all the portions for her children. So, it's noticeable. Footnotes. Okay, so at the part where it says he would give her only one choice portion, it could be, and because he loved Hannah, he would give her a choice portion. Meaning of the Hebrew is uncertain. Okay, so, but either way that is worded, like, I guess he's trying to put in a little extra effort, to show that he loves her too, by giving her a better portion. I mean, it says a choice portion there for her, and it doesn't say that it was choice portions for, his other wife and his kids. So, but the thing is, as good as his intentions there might be, that could make it feel like she's singled out all the more, because her portion's different than everybody else's. I'm not saying that is what she thought, but I imagine some people could wind up thinking like that. Anyway, footnote there. Hebrews says the house of the Lord instead of the tabernacle. But that's what the house of the Lord would have been at the time. There was no temple yet, or anything like that. It was the tabernacle. Anyway. Alright. On to verse 9. Once after a sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up and went to pray. Eli, the priest, was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance of the tabernacle. Hannah was in deep anguish, crying bitterly as she prayed to the Lord. And she made this vow: "O Lord of heaven's armies, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I will give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime. And as a sign that he has been dedicated to the Lord, his hair will never be cut." Hair not being cut, that sounds familiar. Reminiscent of Samson. But this doesn't necessarily mean that her son's going to get all sorts of crazy strength and whatnot. But still might be a similar vow. Also, it said the priests at the time were the sons of Eli, but I guess Eli also served too. I mean, I think it was pretty much either until they reached a certain age or until they just basically weren't really able to perform the duties anymore that the priests would continue serving in that capacity. So yeah, it's definitely possible for Eli and his sons to be priests at the same time. Footnote there at tabernacle again. Hebrew says the temple of the Lord, which perhaps slightly different wording than when it said tabernacle before. Again, there hadn't really been the, more, permanent looking structure of the temple up to this point, but, could be temple as in, not referring to a specific building, but the idea. But, again, still referring to the tabernacle, because there was no other, designated spot of worshiping the Lord. Definitely not at Shiloh. Footnote there at the end of that paragraph. Some manuscripts add, he will drink neither wine nor intoxicants. But, more... that would basically just add to the point of him taking the particular vow that, I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of it, but the same kind of vow that Samson's parents basically promised that he would follow. Anyway. Also, Lord of Heaven's armies. Why is it specifically calling him Lord of Heaven's armies here? I'm not 100% sure, but this is one of those things where, it's still referring to the same God, just maybe by a different name. There's all sorts of different titles, I guess you could say, that God has throughout the Bible. Some people who are a little more skeptical of the Bible and Christianity in general try and use that as a reason to say, well, no, they actually worshipped different gods at these different times. And while that is also technically true when they strayed away from, the Lord, their God, who chose them as his, chosen people, it can also be true that, they just gave different titles for the Lord because of different things that he did and or different qualities of his character that became known over the centuries or whatever. So, just because it's specifically using that title doesn't mean they're suddenly worshiping a different god here. But anyway, okay, on to verse 12. So Hannah's praying here, and then, as she was praying to the Lord, Eli watched her. Seeing her lips moving, but hearing no sound, he thought she had been drinking. "Must you come here drunk?" he demanded. "Throw away your wine." "Oh no, sir," she replied. "I haven't been drinking wine or anything stronger, but I am very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. Don't think I am a wicked woman, for I have been praying out of great anguish and sorrow." "In that case," Eli said, "go in peace. May the God of Israel grant the request you have asked of him." "Oh, thank you, sir," she exclaimed. Then she went back and began to eat again, and she was no longer sad. So I guess with, Eli the priest having this interaction with her and basically, adding his seal of approval, so to speak, to her prayer, she felt kind of more reassured there that her prayer would be answered. So now she feels better and she's actually gonna, go back and eat and not be sad. There's it's hard to really describe the comfort that can be found in just pouring your heart out to God, and especially then also feeling confident that your prayer will be answered. But whenever you see it happen, it is a powerful thing. Like, I've seen and heard of plenty of people that have basically gone from rock bottom to like mountaintop high just from something like that. So, like, yeah. It might not necessarily have been to that extent, but it's just... Shoot, sometimes even just when we're talking with other people and, like, pouring our hearts out, figuratively speaking, even that can help us feel better. How much better could that really then be if we're having the same kind of conversation with, Almighty God? So, anyway, I just thought I would put that in there, like, not anyone that I know, but I could see some people wanting to kind of make light of, like, oh, so she suddenly feels better just because she prayed and somebody told her that her prayer would be answered. Whoop-de-dee. But no, it's powerful stuff. Anyway. All right, on to verse 19. The entire family got up early the next morning and went to worship the Lord once more. Then they returned home to Ramah. When Elkanah slept with Hannah, the Lord remembered her plea, and in due time she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, for she said, I asked the Lord for him. The next year Elkanah and his family went on their annual trip to offer a sacrifice to the Lord and to keep his vow. But Hannah did not go. She told her husband, wait until the boy is weaned. Then I will take him to the tabernacle and leave him there with the Lord permanently. Yeah, even if they, even if the pregnancy began, like, pretty much as soon as possible after the previous visit to the tabernacle, there's still, roughly 9 months of the pregnancy. So odds are the boy's no more than 3 months old next year around. And so, yeah, there's still quite a bit of growing to do and a lot of, like, taking care of the boy. Kind of an understandable request there. Footnote there. Samuel sounds like the Hebrew term for asked of God or heard by God. So, as usual, very literal Hebrew naming conventions. And I think I just remembered the whole not cutting the hair and not drinking wine and that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure that's called a Nazirite vow, if I'm remembering right. In any case, whatever the kind of vow was that Samson took, I think is what they were, promising for this boy too. Well, at least what Hannah was promising. Footnote here. Some manuscripts add, I will offer him as a Nazarite for all... See, there we go. Nazarite. That I should have just looked at the footnote and I would have had confirmation. But hey, I remembered. Like 15, 20 verses later, but I remembered. So, yeah. She was wanting to wait another year, it seems. Or at least another year. More than understandable that, like, at 3 months old, she would not want to give the boy up. Anywho. Alright. On to verse 23. Whatever you think is best, Elkanah agreed. Stay here for now, and may the Lord help you keep your promise. So she stayed home and nursed the boy until he was weaned. When the child was weaned, Hannah took him to the tabernacle in Shiloh. They brought along a 3-year-old bull for the sacrifice and a basket of flour and some wine. After sacrificing the bull, they brought the boy to Eli. Sir, do you remember me? Hannah asked. I am the very woman who stood here several years ago praying to the Lord. I asked the Lord to give me this boy, and he has granted my request. Now I am giving him to the Lord, and he will belong to the Lord his whole life. And they worshipped the Lord there. Okay, so now, she's saying several years ago, which implies that it was longer than just a year or two. But still, you would think he's still going to be pretty young at this point. But anyway, so looking at footnotes, Elkanah agreed with Hannah that the boy should be weaned before being given to the priests. As in Dead Sea Scrolls in Greek version, Masoretic text reads, "May the Lord keep his promise," rather than "May the Lord help you keep your promise." But it kind of makes more sense to say that it was her promise and not the Lord's. Because she was the one praying about all that. This one, there's multiple times. Man, there's a lot of footnotes in this chapter. Masoretic text reads 3 bulls rather than a 3-year-old bull. I mean, quite a different thing, but still probably the same general intent. Although I don't know if this is more so for like the annual offerings that they did, or if they were doing a special thing to dedicate Samuel. Footnote there after the basket, Hebrew says an ephah, which is about 20 quarts. We've discussed that quite a bit, but I mean, that's like 5 gallons worth of stuff, and that's not exactly a small basket to be carrying around. So Hannah asks Eli if he remembers her and explains what she did there and how, like, hey, this is the boy I was praying for. Prayer answered. Yay. But also like, okay, well, here he is, because I promised God I would dedicate this boy to the tabernacle. Hebrew says he there instead of they. He presumably would have been Eli. But either way, like, they all were probably worshiping, because that's kind of what they were there for. Whether Eli the priest, because that's part of his job and like his the thing that he's dedicated his life to, or, you know, Hannah and her family would have been there to worship, because Elkanah was there on a yearly basis giving sacrifices and offerings anyway. But okay, so that wraps it up for chapter 1. All right, so that's pretty much the story surrounding Samuel's birth and how his mother dedicated him essentially to, maybe not exactly priesthood, but to assisting the priests and, you know, helping in the tabernacle and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah. Another one of those situations that kind of resembles Rachel and Leah, but different people, slightly different circumstances. In any case, the big thing that is happening with that moving forward is that Samuel is going to wind up serving in the tabernacle with the priests, also following a Nazirite vow thing, kind of like Samson did, but maybe with less aggression. But anyway, as always, like and share if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell if you're on YouTube to get updates when I post new videos. If you're seeing this on Rumble or somewhere else, give me a follow and do whatever needs to be done to keep up with my content on there. Look down in the description to get info on other social media pages and all that kind of stuff. And leave comments down below the video with any thoughts you have. So that'll do it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you soon for another video. Whatever the case is, till next time, stay cool, people.